everybody. This is Kylie Montigney from NEPA Story, and you're listening to the newest episode of NEPA Story, the show that recognizes local businesses, artists, journalists, and more to showcase their work, story, and talent. Today, we'll be talking about the 100 digital marketing in Wilkes Barre Power with Michael Ruth. Discuss everything there is to know about marketing, and networking. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time, and also catching up with you again.
Kylie, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. I really appreciate it.
So a lot of people know about Wilkes-Barre Power. It's basically a mentorship program and your platform with digital marketing. But tell us more about, Wilkes-Barre Power and your marketing company.
Sure. So with Wilkes-Barre Power, so I joined as a member, I think it was last summer, and so at the time, like the group, they had their monthly networking meetings, which is what the group has been known for 15, 20 years, I believe. So at the end, I think it was the end of last year, the beginning of this year, my friend Rich Perry, who I believe you know as well, so he took
Mhm.
over as the president of Power, and he recruited me kind of early on to be the director of content marketing there. That's a position that we created that hadn't existed there before, so that's a member of the board position. And we talked early on about what we wanted the content marketing strategy to be for it because it hadn't existed before. So I thought, every with every networking meeting every month, the group features a nonprofit speaker
Mhm.
to give attention to a nonprofit and to help make those connections. So one of the first ideas I had was to do these community spotlights on the nonprofits themselves, and especially on the person who's representing the nonprofit. So whoever comes to speak, I try to do a profile on that person as well as the organization, so that and I publish it ahead of time so that people can learn about this group going into the meeting, and they get some insight in quotes, from the person themselves. So there's that part of it that I do. We also do these member highlights where I'm trying to help Power members to get to know each other better because you can see the same faces, but you don't always feel comfortable talking to someone. So I've been trying to get into these member highlights where I'm just doing kind of straight profiles on our members who show up every month so that people can learn about them and see what they do. And maybe if you see one of those before the next meeting and then you see them at the meeting, you can kind of go in with some background and you have something to talk about with them. So we're doing all this content for Power. It's a slow growth, but like slow growth is good. And over the last, so it's the end of June now. We've been at this since like January, February, and we've seen membership grow. We've seen attendance at our monthly meetings grow, and it's been just really a really fruitful effort so far, led by Rich and the rest of the team. So like we're helping to make those connections, helping people to network, and it's been really enjoyable.
Mm.
So that's the kind of the nonprofit work that I do. As far as my marketing business, 1900 Digital Marketing. So I founded that last year, so September. Um, and it was so I had come off of like a string of jobs like over the previous like 5, 6 years where I was working in digital marketing, which really taught me a lot about what it's like to work on someone's website and how to do search engine optimization. Um, and me as a writer, so I've always been a content writer, right? So I will write for people's websites. And what I learned over my time doing that for other companies was that there's something that I wanted to infuse into it that I hadn't seen, and that was like the branding aspect. So that's kind of I think like the differentiator for my company is that I don't just want to write for someone's website. I don't just want to write your social media post just to do it. I like to get in the client's head and learn about like what drives them. Like why did you found this business? What what is your motivation? Like what kind of values do you want your customers or your clients to know about you? And what I find is that a lot of business owners that I talk to, they find my questions for them fascinating, but they've never thought about that before. I get it. I've heard so much. No one's ever asked me that before. Like I asked them what their values are, and I'm like, well, your values are the way that you're going to connect with your clients and your customers. We have to infuse part of you into what you do because otherwise, there's like 10 million other people doing the same thing that you're doing.
Mhm.
So what makes you different? So that's kind of the vibe of 1900 is that I offer not just digital marketing, but it's like personalized branding content too. And people have really responded to that. So it's something that I really enjoy doing.
It seems that it has grown since it opened or started basically September. You've grown the business a lot since September. You have grown a lot of clients and a lot of social medias, which is awesome. But really, with you doing social media kind of similar, making content for Wilkes-Barre Power, I'm sure it has helped a lot with working with Wilkes-Barre Power in terms of content as well for you.
It does because it gets me into that mind space of like the community outreach aspect, to where like, before I started like heavily into like networking, I didn't really know a lot of people and I didn't have the connections. Um, but with Wilkes-Barre Power, the writing I do for that, like reaching out to people in the community, it's like um, that's something that has helped me kind of get into more of the branding because I want to learn about what people in this area are doing and I want to know what drives them. Um, so that the writing, yeah, you're right, the writing is very similar from 1900 to Power because I'm kind of informally getting into like a journalism type of thing where I'm out to get the facts and I do a lot of interviews with people, just like you do a lot, meet with people on Zoom or in person. And I could sit for hours with them sometimes just taking notes and learning about them. And then it all kind of has to rattle around in my head a little before I can, write stuff for them. But yeah, you're right. Like those two things, they really have gone together. It's a nice little compliment.
It is. And I remember me, you, and Rich were in a meeting a few months ago. I honestly forget when. My brain
Yes.
is like, there's so many things going on that I can barely remember what I did yesterday. So, I remember me and you and Rich had a meeting a few months ago, and I remember Rich mentioning that, like, oh, we would love to do different things in terms of spotlighting. And I feel like that's what Wilkes-Barre Power is really all about. From what I've seen, is that they spotlight, of course, people doing amazing things, but also different nonprofits that are doing amazing things. And I feel like there's not a ton like that in this area, honestly. Of course, with mentorship, memberships, like different types of things, there's not a lot of businesses that actually spotlight these people and nonprofits. It's very rare in this area.
Yeah, and it's been so nice to see because they're often groups that maybe the majority of people in our region haven't heard of. Like I know there are some organizations that I had not heard of before we booked them to speak at our meetings. And I'm like, there's these, nonprofits, they don't have huge budgets, maybe to do a lot of their own marketing or whatever. So, we're so happy to work with them, and to call attention to them because there are people who may want to join the mission. They may want to work for them, or they may want to use their services and they hadn't heard that, here's this advocacy group or whoever it might be who's in right here in our backyard. So even myself, like I learn a lot, and that's our hope is to help our members to learn about these groups that are out there that are small but doing really great things.
100%. So to go back to 1900 digital marketing, like how does it like how businesses benefit from personal branding stories and SEO strategies? And especially with today, there's so many businesses growing, but how does it really increase the online landscape for this business?
So with SEO, there's there you can get into what are called like best practices. I don't like to use the term because it kind of implies that everyone gets the same kind of strategy. But with SEO, it's like you have to look at the business and their website as being unique and try to figure out what's going to make them stand out on Google. I mean, there are some kind of like baseline strategies that every person in the SEO industry knows about, like targeting the right local keywords because so most of my clients are local. So targeting the right local keywords, um, seeing what the competition is already doing, and of course, if they're local, like optimizing their Google business profile. So these are kind of like your basic things. With the branding element, though, that's what is because I infuse that into the marketing. That's what helps them stand out. Like, as I said before, if say you're like a lawyer's office, right? You're a law firm. I mean, how many lawyers are in the area? But it's like if I met with someone like that, I'm like, well, what makes you different? Tell me, like, what values do you bring to this? So when I do these branding interviews and I help them to tell their brand stories, which is kind of like a more detailed and like a more intensive kind of about page. It's not your typical just here's who we are. It's like you know talk about your values, talk about your history, what's your story, why do you do this every day. So I'll write their about page, and I will also take their ideas that I've learned from them in the interviews that I do, and that goes into their content, like on their homepage, on their service pages. That's all infused into it, so that the content itself comes out, and it doesn't sound generic. It doesn't sound general like everyone else. It's like, no, here's what this business values. Here's what we do, and you use first person to talk to the client, the customer, whoever they're trying to get. um, this stuff helps them to stand out. And, you can get into other things like email marketing and social media to further that even more. Because SEO, it helps your website to stand out on Google. That's one thing. But then you're kind of waiting for people to come to you. Whereas if you get into social media, if you build an email list, you're being proactive and you're putting all that branded marketing information out to the public. Um, so I've done this for people, and they tell me it's really rewarding. And again, they hadn't thought of things like this, and it feels to me, and I don't, maybe there are others out there in our area, but if it seems to me like there aren't a lot of marketing businesses doing this in the area. Um, you can with digital marketing, you can get very transactional and just here's some work for some money. But I like to do work that's meaningful to me, and so that's where that branding element comes in, and I think that's what helps them to stand out.
It really is. Like I know with SEO, I really personally don't know about SEO. I heard of it, but I just never actually learned or bothered to learn about SEO. It's like too difficult for me for some reason. I think you probably know more about it personally than I do. But personally with SEO, it has really benefited many people that are in this area to get traction because of course it's hard to get around in this area and make your business stand out, especially as a small business, it's very
Mhm.
difficult to stand out, but to do something that is actually meaningful to you, no matter if you're maybe a digital marketer, founder, or whatever, you have to actually love it rather than just doing it for the money or actually staying busy.
Yeah, that's the thing that I mean that's what drives me. Like, you obviously have to make a living, but as with so many professions and crafts, like if you are after the money, I think it's not going to work. I think it's going to show. Whereas if you are passionate and you genuinely care about what you're doing, word is going to spread and you're going to make a living anyway. That's what I have found. Like most of my business comes from word of mouth. It's so ironic that like I don't have a website of my own because I haven't had the time. I'm too busy working on everyone else's. But that's the thing, like people sense my passion for it and for writing, and they just tell their friends, they tell their connections. So you're right, like you have to care about it, or it's just you're not even going to be good at it. Like if you're after the money, I think people can tell. So
Yeah.
it's like you gotta you have to care, and so it takes like a level of like interest in your fellow human to really be able to do this. And I'm so humbled by just the number of clients in the last like 6, 7, 8 months who have trusted me with their branding and their marketing. It means so much to me.
Yeah, like it's like people really oftentimes see that you are after the money. I know a lot of people are like that. I'm not saying everyone is, but that sometimes is oftentimes the case. Maybe you're just, looking for money or just something as a side job. But to do something that you actually love is the most important thing. Not, of course, money is a big tool.
Yeah.
I would do it for basically loving it also, and the money, it's a big plus. But with doing that, you actually have to love it to actually do it. Like, why are you spending all of your time and dedication for something to actually get money rather than loving it? That's the main thing. As long as you have the passion for it, like you said, you did marketing experience before starting this company. So you had tons of experiences
Yeah.
before. And so you, of course, with having experience, you have a lot more knowledge and having none experience in actually starting this company.
Yeah, and it's like, you can I've lost so much sleep over the time doing this. And, I guess I feel like if I were and I guess this applies to everyone, like if you were driven by the money, you would probably put in just like the most minimal amount of effort to kind of do the job and get paid. But it's like I see other people, not even just in my industry, but in other industries who have their own businesses and they lose sleep and they don't eat when they're supposed to eat because they care so much about what they do and like what they studied in college and now building a business based on that. And you see the passion in these people, and like I can just tell these people care. Like they are, yes, they want to make a living and we all have to do it. There's no shame in that, but it's like they love what they do, and I love to see it. I love seeing people in this region like just passionate about offering services to people that really help them.
And honestly, there's very much tons that have been going around recently, especially in this area. There's so many amazing businesses, but I can't tell you like how much people in this area work their butt off to actually make a living. I can't even tell you how many hours of sleep I miss, or how many times I'm not eating food because I'm so distracted by working so much. And that's kind of like the heart of NEPA, is that everyone working hard to make a living. And there's so many amazing places out here, which is crazy to think about, that many people in this area have a heart of gold, and really taking care of others is really great to see how much people in this area really care about each other.
Yeah, when you actually get out there in northeastern Pennsylvania and you talk to people, you talk to so many people. I'm getting into that world. It's like you are absolutely right. You see so many people, they do have hearts of gold, and it's like people really do care. You just got to talk to them and learn about what they do, but they're often happy to talk about it. And I love seeing the passion in people's eyes, and you can tell, like you see it in their eyes, you hear it in their voices, like when they love what they do, I just feel like you can always tell.
Yeah, you can always tell in the way that they've been doing it. Like if someone's been maybe doing it for a couple of years or something, it really shows how much passion they have by talking about it, posting on social media or something, or just doing it all the time. It really shows, even if you're just talking to one person or online, there's many ways you can really see their passion. It's like the passion and people's work, this never stops. It's not about the money. It's really kind of about loving really what you do and really making a difference in this community, because there's so many people that are doing that right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that, some people like you can take the approach to work where it's just a thing to make you a living, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I guess it's like it's a nice little bonus if you also enjoy it.
100%. So to wrap this episode up, like how can people connect with you, Wilkes-Barre Power, and 900 digital marketing?
Sure. So for Wilkes-Barre Power, so we are on LinkedIn primarily right now. That's where we post all of our content. But you can also find Wilkes-Barre Power on Facebook and Instagram. We're working on getting the website up and running. Um, and then you can also follow, say, like me or Rich Perry, the other members of the board, to because we'll often repost like the events that are coming up, and as well as the content. So, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the board. So you can follow our president, Rich Perry, our vice president, Rachel Stark, our secretary, Sarah Picorni, and our director of outreach, Anthony Mouth. And then for 1900 digital marketing, so I am primarily on LinkedIn right now. I've been so busy that I haven't had a chance to get a website up for myself yet. It's being worked on now, but you can connect with me on LinkedIn right now. That's where I, do all my kind of my own self marketing on um, LinkedIn.
Awesome. So I'll make sure to put like all those links and everything in the description for all of you to check out so you don't have to keep going scrolling for to check everything out. But thank you everyone for listening. I know it's been a hot minute since we done an episode at NEPA, so it's been, crazy few months on my end, but I really thank you, Michael, for joining us today and really appreciate all the work you're doing in this community and with the Wilkes Barre Power as well.
And Kylie, thank you again so much for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for listening. There's tons of new episodes coming out, which is amazing. But everyone enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you again, Michael, and enjoy the rest of your day.